What's going on, everyone? Welcome to QVO Games. My name is Juan. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it so much. This is going to be a video about the games coming to retail the week of February 26th. We have a little bit of bleeding to the beginning of March, so March 3rd will be Friday, 4th is Saturday. We don't really have games coming out on March 4th. We end at March 3rd, but of course we're going to be covering February 26th all the way till March 3rd. We have about 8 games. Some of these games are games that I think have been talked about a little bit, have a little bit of buzz going on, and then one of these games I believe is going to be a reoccurring game with its expansions on these videos only because there's going to be so many mini expansions. I'm pretty sure there will be, and I'll explain to you when we get there. Let's get this video going. Keep in mind, I am covering the games coming to retail in the US. Therefore, these games may have already been released in other regions of the world. If that is the case, you may have already seen copies. You may have seen someone have reviews or coverage on them, or you may have already picked up a copy at a convention of some sort. Keep that in mind. Also, keep in mind there is a global shipping crisis going on. Therefore, some of these games may have changed release dates. When that does happen, I'll make sure to update you of the new release date in the new week's video. Yeah? Let's get these games showcased. First things first, coming out this week is going to be Joan of Arc, Orleans Draw and Write from Capstone Games. Yeah, so Joan of Arc, Orleans Draw and Write. So this game is going to be in the same realm of Orleans. Orleans, if you know what that game is, it's a really popular game. One of like the first worker placement-ish games that came out, and it's actually extremely popular. And this game is going to be a draw and write. Did I say draw and write? I said wrong. I think I said draw and write. I'm pretty sure I said draw and write earlier. It's going to be a draw and write. So in this game, it's going to be a bag with a lot of little workers and they all do different things. They're going to shake up the bag. In the bag, you're going to pull one out. They're going to pull a couple out, like I think it's 5 total, depending on the player count, and it switches up. And the player who drew is going to draw a little worker, and they're going to use the worker to do different actions on their sheets. Let me scroll through the pictures here so I can show you what that looks like. So there's going to be the workers here, different cards, I'm assuming have different abilities, things you're going to be doing, some nice looking pencils, and this is going to be the sheet you're going to be playing on. So let's see if we can zoom in on this a little bit more. There we go. So the workers are going to be pulled, and you're going to be using them to do different things throughout the sheet. That's going to be there. Closer look at that. It looks really interesting, honestly. I have been getting into draw and writes, roll and writes, flip and writes, all those a lot lately, honestly, and I'm having a lot of fun. I'm enjoying them a lot. I used to I think the first one I ever played was Trek 12 was by Pandasaurus Games, and then from there I evolved into I think it's called Dinosaur Island Roar and Write, and then from there I moved on to other ones. Hadrian's Wall is a really fun game. I love playing that game. Clan Inscription was fun as well. I have it up here. I believe it's in the video. And I enjoy those games a lot. This is going to be a game I'm hoping to try, only because I've been liking the genre of games a lot lately, and I'm excited to see what comes out of it. Joan of Arc, Orleans Draw and Write, coming out this week. Coming up next by Capstone Games as well is going to be La Famiglia, The Great Mafia War. So coming out this week by Capstone Games, and La Famiglia. It's like a team versus team style game, right? Usually 2v2, and you're going to be playing as different mafia families, and you're going to be going up against each other, trying to control areas of land. And the game you're going to be having, let's see if I can flip over some pictures here. That's the cover, the box art, there's a lot of meeples. You're going to have different powers and abilities determined by these little player boards here. Do we have a better picture of the player boards? I do. Cool. So these are going to be different ways to up yourself in abilities. You're going to be unlocking them by paying for them, of course, and getting through, and they're going to be powering you up. You're going to be a team of 2 versus 2, and your goal is to control either 5 of these. One player control 5, or collectively control 6, I believe, 3 and 3. And once that happens, the game's over. The other person has won. That team has won the game. And the game, honestly, these style of games, I have been playing these as well a lot. It's 1v1, 2v2s kind of style, almost war game-esque, I guess. Or it's kind of like a skirmish game, I guess I would say. And not really. I couldn't explain this game that way. Only because there's been a lot of versus games like this coming out, and I've been playing them a lot. And I think that's fairly. They are a lot of fun, honestly. I've been having a lot of fun and diving more into that genre of games. And this looks interesting. I think the art itself looks kind of dull, honestly. It looks a little boring, but the gameplay looks really fun. I like the 2v2 thing, the fact that you can unlock and power up as well. I like that a lot in games. So this is going to be La Famiglia, coming out this week by Capstone Games. Coming up next by Thunderworks Games is going to be Goblin Vaults, coming out February 28th. Goblin Vaults, a role-player tale based in the role-player tale series. Thunderworks has a lot of games like this. So they have different games that play differently, but they're in the same realm. There's one that just came off Kickstarter, and there's a couple of other ones that released that are just in the same realm but play differently. In Goblin Vaults, you're Goblin in a vault, and your goal is to collect gears. And once you have a total of, I believe, 9 gears, you win the game after a couple rounds. And after the game itself is going to be a bidding game and a strategy card game. And they have some great pictures here that I want to show you all here. So you're going to be bidding for cards, and the cards themselves are going to be like loot pieces, and those loot pieces are going to be in your like loot pile, a secret loot pile. And in that loot pile, you're going to be able to exchange that for gears. The game seems interesting. Thunderworks is really impressive to me only because I love like their role player series, and I also really love a role player adventures. I really enjoyed that game. I backed it and I got it in and I played it. The game is a little bit random. However, I still really enjoyed it. Goblin Vaults looks like it's going to be a game. If you like the realm in where all these games rely in, you're going to probably enjoy Goblin Vaults only because it plays differently. The theme, of course, is for high fantasy, and it's going to be a bidding style card game, which sounds kind of fun, honestly. I really don't think that like the game is going to be like a gimmick or a boring one, only because sometimes you need a couple of these games in your collection to kind of brighten up like the game night. You need like a quick card game or something to play. I don't think it's gonna be quick, honestly. This might take a little longer than like maybe hour-ish, which is still a game within itself. But the game itself is a good one just to kind of bring out and just play. And easy to teach probably, easy to kind of bring people into it, which we all need a couple games like that because we can't just be playing like Lacerda games or like heavy Mind Clash games all the time. So I appreciate this. This is going to be Goblin Vaults coming out by Thunderworks Games, coming out February 28th. Coming up next, coming out March 3rd, is going to be Jooky Jooky. This is a kid's game by Synopsis Games. Oh, I almost completely mispronounced that. It's going to be a kid's game. It's meant for families ages 6 and up. So you're going to be playing with your friends, and you're going to be trying to kill a cockroach. That is kind of what you're doing. And you're having fun doing it because it's a goofy cockroach. It's going to have different, this game reminds me of like these games like Taco Cat Go Cheese Peaks, I think it's called. The one where like you like put cards and stuff like that. But you're going to have different little challenges, and you're going to be doing like some wacky things while you play the game. So it's like a funny little kids game, and it's going to be... you're going to be doing different things like doing a maze or like doing different things with your swatter to perform different things, a little cockroach. Fun little theme for kids. I am not a fan of cockroaches. I'm not a fan of insects in general. So this is going to be an interesting one to look at. And the fact that Little Cockroach is so funny. I still think it's a funny game. It is going to be a game for kids. You just go in, have fun. Maybe like if you have nephews or kids, play with them as well. This game is going to be Jooky Jooky by Synopsis Games, coming out March 3rd. Coming up next, coming out March 3rd, is going to be Fighters of the Pacific. So Fighters of the Pacific is going to be a game. It's going to be a war game. On a hexagonal grid. Ooh, hexagonal. I hope I said that right. No, I think it's going to be just a grid. Nope, here it is. Yep. All right, I can show you the grid itself. And you're going to be playing over the Pacific. So you're playing with like fighter jets, Navy, boats, and such like that. And it's going to be a strategy. It's going to be a war game. And honestly, Ares Games is, they have released one of my favorite games, and that is so weird because I do not usually enjoy realistic war games like this, but I've been getting into them. I got into them, a couple of them, and I enjoy the mechanics and strategy behind them, and they actually made a game called Quartermaster General, and I love Quartermaster General. I love playing that game. I prefer playing at 6 players. You can play lower player counts, but I feel like 6 is like 3v3, which is with 3v3, the access to the allies in the game, is the perfect way to play. This game itself is going to have a lot of those same things where you're going to be taking turns going back and forth, shooting with your bomber planes, your squadrons, and each card is going to show you like the area, right? Like this is going to be a formation of attack. This is going to be another way of attacking, and it seems pretty cool, honestly. If you're into like war games, I think this is going to be a fun one, honestly. I like the theme of the whole thing over the Pacific, right? I think it's over the Pacific. Yep, straight. It's the game name, Fighters of the Pacific. So you're going to be fighting over in the Pacific. So. Game looks interesting. I recommend even like looking more into the game itself. They do have some coverage out already with different content creators, I believe. Actually, they have some articles out, and I believe there's a video that I saw as well. Correct? Don't take that for granted. Don't take that from me. Look it up yourself and figure it out. This is going to be Fighters of the Pacific coming out March 3rd by Ares Games. Coming up next is going to be Agents of Smersh. Agents of Smersh is going to be a game that came from Kickstarter, coming out March 3rd, by the way, and it is by Everything Epic. So, I actually played this game before. I have a friend who owns it, and it honestly, it was a lot of fun. It's a narrative-driven style game. The whole thing is a narrative. The gameplay mechanics itself is just kind of a lot of like have X skill to do X thing, and depending on the character you have, will activate different story elements throughout the game. So if you replay a story with this specific character, that character will activate different parts of stories, therefore leading you into a different narrative. These books here are pretty massive. I mean, they're like thick books, and they have so much story. They're so big, and the whole game is just a narrative adventure game. I had a lot of fun. It creates a lot of fun, epic moments and funny things that happen. And if you're in for a game to just have a great story and like have a fun time playing with that story going on, this game's for you. It's just basically a big narrative driven game with some aspects of like, I guess when you fight a boss and such, you're wasting skills. You need skills to kill the boss, side boss. But I don't really see any level of like puzzle solving in any way, or like you're just kind of really prepping for the boss the whole time during the story. The game is honestly a lot of fun. It's actually a really cool game. The thing is, I think the price tag is going to be the thing that's a big factor for me. And see how much they price it for, because I don't see a price yet. But this is going to be Ages of Smersh. Ages of Smersh is an awesome game by Everything Epic, coming out March 3rd. Star Wars, the deck building game. This is the one I was talking about that I feel is going to have a lot of expansions. I mean, Fantasy Flight Games has Arkham Horror LCG, the Marvel Champions League LCG, and they are going to more than likely also have a lot of expansions for this. The cool thing about Star Wars, the deck building game, is that you're playing as Star Wars characters, but it's a head-to-head style game. That is interesting. I really enjoy a head-to-head style deck building game that is Power Rangers deck building by Renegade Games, so I'm kind of curious to see how this is going to go. I like Star Wars, and I really enjoy the IP a lot, so I'm hoping this comes out as good as it looks. And you're basically going to go back and forth. You're going to have a deck, and you're going to go back and forth fighting each other. I'm assuming this is, I don't want to call it an LCG anyway, but I'm assuming the expansions aren't going to be like a bunch of random booster packs, right? You're going to know exactly what's coming and what cards you're getting in future expansions, which I am more than sure they're going to do. If they don't, I'm wrong, but I'm sure there's going to be like the Obi-Wan expansion or X expansion, right? And that's going to be a thing. And that's awesome. I like the fact that they're kind of expanding on the deck building things. I like head-to-head deck building games. I think it's a lot of fun. But this is deck building game. I couldn't find anything. Well, they're actually, I couldn't really find a rule book anywhere. But from the articles I was reading, it looks like it's going to play as a take a turn. There's going to be a deck, of course, or like a line of stuff you do, a line of things you fight, and you do go back and forth fighting those things to send like actions to each other and challenges to each other. So, and of course, there's like life points and such. Star Wars deck building game. Coming out March 3rd. I'm excited for this one. I'm excited to see where it goes by Fantasy Flight Games. Coming up next is going to be Tiwanaku, coming out on March 3rd, coming from Kickstarter, formerly known as Pachamama. This game is actually extremely interesting to me. I am going really deep into deduction games lately. I love deduction games. I realized that recently. There's a game like called Cryptid, which I think is, I don't know if you can see it's above me on my calyx here, but Cryptid is actually an amazing deduction game. I love Cryptid. I love that game so much. And Tiwanaku has an aspect of deduction, but it's not really just like guessing, right? There's other mechanics tied in with just deducing things, right? It's not just a bunch of deducing. There's mechanics that tie in to like solving a puzzle of some sort and figuring out what is what. And Tiwanaku kind of reminds me about that with Cryptid, because Cryptid has a deduction and it's basically guessing out different spaces. However, Tiwanaku has like a more like a Minesweeper deduction game going on, where like you're gonna go through, right, and you're gonna be putting your meeples in different places. I want to see if I can get a zoom in on this. There we go. And these meeples are going to go in different spots here. And your goal in this is going to be primarily based with using the Pachamama. Pachamama is this thing here. Pachamama, I'm assuming, is a god, right? That it's going to be determining the deduction. It's a really cool mechanism here that you have going. So basically on the grid itself, this grid here, there are little symbols and on the side and here, and it's a grid. And on this wheel, there are symbols at the bottom and there's symbols at the top right here. And you're going to line up this arrow here, this little lever. You're going to move it over and match to the turtle, and you're going to move this over and match it to, like, let's just say like the moon. And that space will be where this lines up to, and it's going to tell you exactly that. There's going to be scenarios you're going to slide them into the Pachamama, which is this big circle thing, and the scenario is going to determine where exactly and where tiles lie. And your goal is to determine and deduce where to plant the crops and where to plant them. And you can get it right, you can get it wrong, but usually you tell by a little bit of a Minesweeper thing. If you have X tile here, then only X tile can go here, because in this region, only a certain amount of tiles can go there, or a certain amount of crops can be planted there. And it's all a big deduction game, and there's different scenarios to kind of figure out, like kind of change the puzzle every time. I think I want to try this game. I really, really want to try this game out. I think, like I said, I've been really getting into deduction games, and I think this is going to be a great one by sit-down games, right? Tiwanaku coming out March 3rd. And that is it. We are at the end of the video. This is going to be it's not a lot of heavy. I think there's a lot of great games coming out, of course, but it's not as heavy as last week's. But we have some really interesting games here. Tiwanaku has a lot of potential to be like, I feel that that game has potential to be like a game of the year almost for a lot of people, or like some in people's top 10s, only from how like the deduction games lately have been, no one's really been picking them up, I think, but this one looks interesting and plays interesting. I like it a lot. Agents of Smersh is a great one as well. Star Wars deck building game can be the start of a new line of expansions and a new line of a bunch of cards coming out. And of course, Capstone Games releases a lot of fire games all the time. So I'm excited to see where we go with this and how it goes. If you made it this far into the video, I appreciate it so much. That's awesome. Thank you so much for just sitting there and listening to me blabber, well, inform me about these games, of course. And I appreciate that. Thank you. And if you made it this far as well, if you don't mind dropping a comment, a like, or subscribe, it really helps the channel, helps me let me know that I'm doing a good job, and we can keep growing the channel, therefore growing the community as I kind of spread the word about all these games coming to retail. Thank you so much for watching the video. I appreciate it so much, and have a great one.